Welcome to Pemberley Farm. Well, I guess Gideon wants to welcome you too. He's been in the pond and wallowing in the dirt, so he's pretty dirty. But I want to talk about gardens today. As you see, got a lot of peas here that you can see. In the background there's some different kinds of squash, some winter squash. There's some green beans climbing up the poles. And this is June the 3rd. Well, I should be picking peas by now. I live in Northwest Florida. So this has kind of been a weird spring for us. It's been very, very cool. And that is not good for things that love hot weather, particularly peas and okra. So our peas are not nearly as far along as they should be. They're weedier than they should be. But anyway, and so, I've never had trouble growing peas here. And these are going to make, but they're just way far behind. Now I want to show you another sad side. Those are not so bad. But this is really sad. These are yellow crookneck squash. I'm just saying, I have never grown a squash that looked like that. These squash should be probably close to my waist high. Normally, when I grow squash, that's where they are by now. Normally, by this time of year, I'm basically finished with squash. We had so many very cool nights and cool early mornings here in this spring that these squash just did nothing. We planted them not so very long after we planted the potatoes, which were here. And we had 3 rows of potatoes, and we dug them, and they did very well. They liked the cool weather. These yellow squash did not. Further back, there's some zucchinis, and they did a little better. I don't know if you can see them. But anyway, they did a little bit better. But, so I don't know, any of you, I have read several comments from people on other places where they said they've been having a lot of cool weather as well. Unusually cool for the spring and for their location. And it's really messed with our crops this year. So these peas, they're blooming. They've even got a few peas on them. Because this was the first couple of rows I planted. And they've got a few peas on them. These are pink eye purple hull. And I never have intentionally planted them before. But there was some seed mixed in with my zippers last year. And so I picked them all together, but I shelled them separately and cooked them. And they were good. So I decided to plant them on purpose this year. So that's what all these peas you see are. They're pink eye purple hulls. But they should be at least twice the height and the size that they are now. So anyway, comment down below and let me know how your garden is doing this year. Have you had problems with really cool weather? Now remember, even though I live in Northwest Florida, I also live down in a valley. I know you think Florida doesn't have valleys, but where I live has valleys and hills. And so I live down in a valley, and cold air sinks. So it's always cooler down here than it is, a mile up the road out of my valley. So anyway, let me know what you think. We'll keep looking at some more garden areas. Also, this is the first year that we have planted this spot with something like this. Last year we tried to plant corn here, field corn, and it did not do because the squirrels ate it all. We planted this field, not just what you see plowed here now, but way past that deer feeder down there, all the way to almost to the wood line. We planted it in field corn, and the squirrels ate it all twice. So this time I planted something different here and put the field corn somewhere else. So really and truly, this is the first time this ground has been used in many years. So I guess considering that, and I've not had this piece of land long enough to amend it really well, that maybe this isn't too bad. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We may get a bumper crop. I'll let you know if we do. And if you'll look at last year's videos, this is my field of zipper peas. Now, last year's videos these peas were humongous by now. I mean, really humongous. And so This year, we're still having issues. And I don't know if you can see back there where all that netting is. Those are green beans, and I'm afraid we're going to have problems with those because it's so late in the year now. They were so slow coming. And I haven't long been planted okra because okra doesn't even need to go in cold ground. So I haven't long been planted that. But just another example of a real problem with this cool, unusually cool spring we've had. Where I live, we usually jump from winter to summer. I mean, there is no spring. This year, we've loved it as far as, it's comfortable for us. But our vegetables have not liked it. So that means, I guess, that I need to, if this is going to continue, that I will have to start planting later so that the ground is warmer, like I did the okra. Okay. Now we're on the other side of the road. I'm sorry I messed with the camera. I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, this is what squash should look like. Now, this is the ground that you've been seeing in all our videos. This is where our garden always is. And we didn't plant a lot over here this year because we were planting so much over there. So you see, these are patty pan squash, but my yellow crookneck are at least generally, these are not waist high, but thigh high, mid-thigh high on me when I walk out there. And my yellow crookneck are always at least this big, if not bigger. So anyway, but these are doing great over here. So maybe it's the land, maybe it's a combination over there. That's a little cooler spot than here because it's on the water. These are yellow wax beans. And they're doing really good. As a matter of fact, I got to pick them in the morning. Let's see if I can show. Well, so there's a lot on there without making you dizzy. I don't want to do that. I planted just a few hills of cucumbers. Really just enough to have for fresh eating. So that's what and these right next to the yellow wax beans are acorn squash. And I haven't planted acorn squash in probably decades. I mean, it's been many, many years since I planted acorn squash. So they're between the cucumbers and the yellow wax beans. I hadn't planted the yellow wax beans, in many years either. A lot of this is experimental this year. Now, these I've never planted before. These are red ripper peas, and I only had enough seed to just plant this one row. But now look how pretty these seed are. But I will tell you also, in all fairness, these have had much more water than what's over there, and so that makes a difference. Now these are the zucchini and the yellow squash that were just planted. I mean, they are not very old at all, and you see how big they are. I mean, they're coming along really good. So I planted enough at least over here for fresh eating anyway. This is just old kale that I haven't done away with yet from the fall and kind of let it get a little weedy. There's some more kale over there. But you see how it's, I don't know. So it's a combination, I guess, of cool weather and land that hasn't been amended as well as some of the other. As we come on down here, we've got some tomatoes. Have no idea what they are. Somebody gave them to me, and somebody had given some to her, and she didn't need them all. So she gave some to me, and neither one of us know what we planted. But hey, it's okay. They'll be tomatoes, and we love tomatoes. Peaches and cream. Easy for me to say. Sweet corn. It's got some, it's tasseling. It's got some ears coming on down in there, if you can see. So we're excited about that. Again, I didn't plant as much as last year of this because we still have some cream corn in the freezer, and just decided to plant just enough for fresh eating along. And these are my biggest experiment yet. These are Christmas lima beans, and they are, as you can see, climbing. my husband, well, I do too for that matter, we hate to pick limas and butter peas and butter beans because they are so on the ground and you just have to crawl along practically, and we're too old for that anymore. So I only had a few of these seed, and they seem to be doing pretty good. You can see that they're climbing up real good. They've got a fair amount of blooms on them, some little tiny beans forming. So I'm looking really forward to this. I will let you know what I think of Christmas lima beans that climb. And last but not least in our garden tour today, these are our young sweet potatoes. That's our asparagus bed back there. And these are more tomatoes. These are celebrity hybrids. And they look a little droopy because it's later in the afternoon. The sun had gone away. That's why I was filming. But it appears to be coming back out. But it's kind of late in the afternoon. And so they look a little wilted because they're probably a little thirsty. We'll have to put the sprinkler on them this evening. Some bell pepper. Just some small little plants we got that we didn't expect to live, but they seem to be doing all right. And a few more sweet potatoes. So, this is a look at our garden this year. I will say it's different from any garden that I've done in many years in a lot of ways. Not just the experiments, but the way things are growing and or not growing. So, like I said, put down in the comments how your spring and summer's going, how your garden is growing. Let me know. I thank you as always for watching at Pemberley Farm. If you've not subscribed, please do so, and please like and share. And I hope you have a very blessed day from Pemberley Farm.